Okay, now
Oh,
I think
okay,
it's
is it
okay.
ready? Okay.
Well, now it's right because the timer's going.
Gotcha.
Okay, so do you want Naruto or Bleach first?
I want Bleach. Let's start with alphabetical order.
Okay, Bleach. Okay, so this is our Bleach recap. Last time we talked about Bleach, what was happening? I think the Captain Commander died. And
they captured all the Bankais.
Yeah, so they got on Captain Commander. Okay.
I think you told me that Rose Petal Captain or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah. Okay.
What was he? He came back to life or whatever.
Yeah. Well, he was never dead, and I knew he was never dead because this is Bleach. Like no one dies.
That's true.
And even if they do die, they just turn into like some other kind of form of native ghost. So anyway, since then, Ichigo was going like on this magical journey to rediscover his powers. Essentially, another training arc, which is what every Bleach arc is about. Ichigo has to lose his power, train, just to relearn Getsuga Tensho, and then he'll lose his powers again, and he has to repeat the process.
Yes.
So this time he gets healed, he eats food which restores his power, and then his sword was broken.
Wait, don't forgo quality. I actually do want to hear it in detail.
Oh, in detail. Okay, yes. So the Zero Squad, the best of the best, the captains that get promoted that go guard the Soul King.
Yeah.
There are 5 of them, and they show up. And after the bad Quincy's have come and just like wrecked and shit on everything, and the captains are just like, y'all could have like came, helped us out, and they're like, this isn't our job, this is your job, and the captains are just like, but we kind of just got decimated, and they're like, well, too bad. And so their captains are there. One of the captains, she's like this ninja person with like 4 mechanical arms. She like just disappears for a while, and she comes back, and she has Byakuya, Renji, Rukia, and Ichigo's sword in a bubble. And Mayuri is like, the fuck, like you just like went in my lab and stole this. And she was like, the doors, like some weird like analogy.
Wait, why was Ichigo's sword in Mayuri's lab again?
Because
I faintly remember
the bad guy broke his sword. And then, and then like there's like this thing that like if your sword breaks in Bankai, it's like fucked up forever. Which was like, then they were saying like that's why Renji hasn't been good because Byakuya broke his Bankai forever ago, and I was like, no, Renji's bad because Renji's bad. That's like, don't blame his sword. Like, that's like a guy just like, oh no, baby, it wasn't me. Like, it was like, it was I had too much to drink. It's like, no, you just suck. Like, don't try to excuse your shitty performance on your Bankai. And then like, as soon as they said that, they had to like come up with all these reasons why it doesn't apply because everyone's Bankai gets broken. Like Mayuri's got blown up twice, and they're like, oh no, his is different because his is like organic. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then Komamura, the guy with like the giant robot Bankai, they're like, oh, his is different because they have like an intense bond. So like they're different. I'm like, what? But the only ones it applies to are Renji, who got his Bankai broken, who's like done shit for the rest of the series, and then Ikkaku, who used his Bankai and broke it once, and then just hasn't used it again, and now Ichigo, because Ichigo's Bankai was broken in half by the bad guy Quincy.
I thought Ikkaku, or whatever his name is, I thought his Bankai is like supposed to break after a certain like time.
Yeah, well, like when
so he's just like fucked either way. Like his Bankai essentially self-destructs.
Pretty much. His Bankai's an electrode. He just throws it at you and hopes that it takes you out with him. Like when like the narration during his fight, he was fighting the volcano guy. He was like, yeah, you just like gave all your power for offense, but like your Bankai is really brittle.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know how they would figure this out during training. Like, oh, I feel like I shouldn't break this because I don't think it'll come back or whatever. But apparently that's why he sucks and why he never uses Bankai anymore. And also because he's really stupid, he just refuses to use his Bankai.
Yeah.
But whatever. And that's also kind of confirms an idea that I had that Soifon's Bankai isn't like the missile, but like the weird arm thingy that she wears, and like the missile's just like her chakra. I mean,
it is. I thought that's what it was.
Ryatsu. Well, that's what I thought, but then someone was arguing with me, and I was like, no, like that doesn't make sense. Like how she just keep firing it.
I thought it was like a concentration of her Ryatsu, and she just fires her Ryatsu.
See, that's what I said, and people argue with me.
Okay.
This sort of implies that I'm right. Which everything does, because I usually am. But, so what else is happening? Okay, so they have Ichigo's Bankai, and like, he needs to get his Bankai fixed. But the Zero Squad, since he's like, super fucked over from all his fights or whatever, because he was fighting the Quincy guy who put him in the timeout cube, and it activated his Quincy powers because he's a Quincy too, because Ichigo's everything. And so now they're going off, and while they're off, the remaining captains, Koryaku is elevated to Captain Commander, and his first idea is to make Unohana teach Kenpachi how to fight. And they're sitting there, or Koryaku's in the...
Oh yeah, because Unohana was randomly like the most powerful sword.
Yeah, she was the first Kenpachi. Yeah. Sure, why not? And like they have this really long fight. And like my friends just kept arguing about like, does she count as like, was she a proper lady? And the argument was more about this weird feminist thing, like, can she like fight like a savage and still be considered a proper lady or a blood knight or whatever? Anyway, they end up fighting, and apparently Unohana like kept killing Kenpachi and then just healing him, and by doing that like made him stronger because his like weird Saiyan thing that he has going on. And so it
like
turns
Vegeta style.
Yeah, so it turns out like they fought as a kid, or Kenpachi fought her when he was a kid, and she was like, oh, you could be my successor one day, but you're not ready now, so I'll just like give you a concussion, and then I don't know. I guess it is like a Saiyan, like Goku, like how he got hit on his head and like forgot what he was supposed to be doing with his life.
Well, remember when Vegeta was fighting Frieza and he's like, I just need to be beaten to a bloody pulp so I can turn Super Saiyan.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Krillin, shoot me.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like that. And then Unohana goes like, after they do it for I don't know how many ever times, Unohana goes Bankai, and then it just gets weird. Like she goes Bankai, and like her sword starts bleeding, and we don't know what's going on. It looks like Kenpachi's melting, and then Kenpachi, because he's Kenpachi, he's just like, stab, and then she possibly is dead. And then like,
so Kenpachi just kills Unohana, like
possibly, like.
Alright, but it's Bleach, so no one dies.
It's Bleach, so one, probably. It doesn't matter, and two, she's not dead, and three, if she does like actually die, this is possibly one of the stupidest things that ever happened in Bleach, that you would take two fighters, sacrifice one who's also your healer just to make one fighter even stronger, who he was already strong on his own. She was already strong, but she just didn't want to fight. So instead of like give them like a good pep talk, like, hey Kenpachi, like just do your two-handed thing, like we know you like to fight one-handed, like like no, like it's time to get serious, like do your job, put on your big boy pants, and like Unohana, like maybe you can heal and fight. It's like no, fight to the death because we only need one of you. Like what? Like they're already down like 5 captains, and it's like we don't really need both of you Kenpachis. So that's like Koryaku's strategy, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Sure.
Who's Koryaku?
Flower Coat. The guy,
he's the new
he's
Captain
the new Captain
Commander.
And it's just like, wow, this is management. Like this is Bleach management. So Ichigo is off getting trained, and then it was like, I think I told you, like they were off. Renji somehow is like competent after like years of doing nothing. He's like suddenly capable of like being important again, and they go through. They like get their bodies healed. They like go to this other captain who like gives them food, but the food has her Ryatsu mixed in, so it like heals them even more and like heals their like sustain or replenishes their Ryatsu. And so then after that, they do training for their Zontic Toe. And Renji passes, but Ichigo doesn't. And so then the captain who's administering that test is like, well, you're not a real Shinigami, and he just sends him away. And then
Ichigo?
Yeah, Ichigo fails something that Renji passes, so obviously this test is very real. And it's because Ichigo hasn't like figured himself out. And he ends up back at Earth, and I think he was like outside of he's outside of his house. And his dad comes out, and he like Shunpo's away. And during the last arc, the Failbringer arc, Ichigo got like a part-time after-school job, and he works at like this weird shop with like the chick with the big boobs. Yeah. So he goes up there, and he's like talking to her. And well, he's not really talking to her. He just like shows up there, like because Ichigo's all angsty, like that kid. And she's like, "What's wrong, Ichigo?" He's just like brood. And then his dad shows up in Shinigami form, so she can't see him, but Ichigo can. And
I'm surprised she doesn't have some kind of power by now.
I mean, she will. like she's pretending not to. Like it's
true.
like everyone.
She's probably Shinigami Fullbringer.
Yeah, she's a Vizard.
Yeah.
She's the mother of Orihime's hairpins. That's what she is. That's what her power is. We just don't know it yet. So Ichigo's dad comes up in Shinigami form, and then Ichigo's like, "Oh well, I gotta go," and she's like, "Wait, talk to me." He's like, "No, I gotta go," and then they leave, and then Ichigo's
he's always
dad,
doing that to her.
Yeah, he's Ichigo. He just treats people like shit. So then he goes with his dad, and his dad like tells him the story of his mom. So now it's a flashback of his dad's time as a captain. So his dad was captain of Squad 10, Hitsugaya's division, and while he was there, Rangiku was still second seat, like always, and Hitsugaya was third seat. So for like
dang, sucks for Rangiku.
Yeah, like just the eternal lieutenant. But see, now it gets weird because that first chapter that he's captain, like he's there, and there's like reports of missing Shinigami again, or Soul Reapers again, or same thing, and it's in the human world, and so he leaves to go investigate. Rangiku and Hitsugaya, or Rangiku wants to go, Hitsugaya's like, no, at this point we're still too weak, like we'll just be in his way. So they stay, and then the chapter ends with Gin and Tozen, who Tozen's at monitor duty, and it's like, the dude's blind, like how the fuck is he using the computers and shit, but whatever, he is. And so he's like using the computers, and Aizen shows up, and apparently like Aizen, they've been tracking Shinji's group, the Vizards, but this doesn't make sense, and I haven't reread Turn Back the Pendulum, but when they had that case, the case of the missing souls or whatever, they showed all the captains, and the 10th captain wasn't there, the 11th captain wasn't there either, but I'm pretty sure the 11th captain just like said fuck it, because he just was lazy, just wanted to sleep, but I'm pretty sure they said the 10th captain was dead. So how was he not there then, but he's there now, and Shinji and them are Vizards? Because they became Vizards after Aizen's experiments. So that just makes the timeline kind of confusing, but whatever. So anyway, he goes to the town, and he sees Ichigo's mom to be his future wife just laying there. And so then they have another flashback from that, from her perspective, she was set to marry Ishida's dad, Uryu's dad, and so apparently their lives are like maybe possibly cousins. Like the translation's a little bit weird, so maybe they're cousins, maybe they're just like fellow Quincy clans, they're like trying to like keep the Quincy blood pure. But apparently Ichigo's mom was supposed to marry Uryu's dad, but during that chapter she's all sad, but like she acts like Orihime, like his mom is pretty much Orihime with smaller boobs. And she like ditzy, and she like runs off.
Did she have Quincy powers though?
I guess like she doesn't use them now, but I mean she's got to marry his dad to like keep the Quincy blood pure, so probably. And so she goes off and like she's looking off in the moonlight, blah 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 blah. And Uryu's dad is sitting there with like his obvious love interest Mei, who's like, oh, she's really kind, she's gonna make a good wife for you, and he's like, she doesn't really love me. And they're like, okay, well obviously you two are gonna end up together. And so while they're like that little triangle thing is happening, Ichigo's dad, Captain Shiba, is like, he's sitting there with like these two random Soul Reapers, and they're saying that if it starts to rain, go away, because like all the people have gone vanishing. It's happened when it's rained. So he's like trying to figure out this mystery, and so it starts to rain. And then he's like, well, he could kind of sense something, but he kind of can't. So he's like, maybe I can scare it off with like a Ryatsu blast. And he like charges up with like all the lines and shit. And then one of the two random guys just gets like sliced in half, like at the shoulders, and he's gone. And so then he flashes over there, and it's like that hollow form that Ichigo becomes after he cheats and beats Ulquiorra.
Right.
It's just like that weird bull-headed thingy. And so they just have like a face-off. And then that's where Bleach ends. So
that's
today's chapter. That's what's happened. So we're guessing that somehow they're gonna fight, and I mean somehow that hollow's gotta get inside of Ichigo's mom and leave it inside baby Ichigo. So I don't know if the mom is gonna seal him inside Ichigo, or she's going to just like they fight and like his residual Ryatsu just kind of rubs off on her, but I don't know. Somehow they fight, they end up together, and that's what makes Ichigo Ichigo. So I don't know. It's not as frustrating as Naruto is, but it's just not very clear where it's headed. Because also the Quincy's like
they just like need to stop.
Well, the Quincy stuff is I think trying to tie it together, because like while the Quincy's are talking, like Uryu's grandma is like a real like she's really stern, and she's just saying that we need to like fight the Vander Quincy's or whatever, because like Uryu's grandfather was like a Quincy traditionalist or something, and apparently the Vander Quincy's aren't. So there's like this weird Quincy ethics arc or something going on between them, and that's why they want to like bolster their family's lives so they can be stronger to fight them. But I don't know where that's going. And then now Ichigo's dad's gonna get involved with her mom, and she's probably gonna like quit being a Quincy. Everyone quits being a Quincy. Like his mom quits being a Quincy, his dad quits being a Quincy, and like his mom, marries his dad and becomes an actress. But his dad, or Uryu's dad, quits and like becomes a doctor, like, and his grandpa just stays a Quincy until Mayuri comes along. So like, no one wants to be a Quincy. Like they all just leave, and then they just leave it or join up and try to take over his whole society. But that's where Bleach is at right now, and so who knows what's going on. Ichigo's got to figure out the truth and relearn Getsuga Tensho. Like that's going to be the outcome no matter what. Is he's going to relearn how to fire Getsuga Tensho. Now he's going to like I guess make a bow and like Getsuga Tensho bow or whatever. But that's Bleach. Yeah. Right.